Hi, good day. Welcome once again to yet another episode of Geo Musings with Mansour. And on this session, we're going to be doing a Q&A. We're going to be to answer the question of one of our fantastic fans on TikTok. Our fan here is Inquire, and he asked, "Will Iran be able to sustain this war for as long as it may last?" Inquirer asked once again, will Iran be able to sustain this war for as long as it may last? Essentially, Inquirer is worried about Iran's carrying power, so to say. How much of firepower Iran still has left, compared to its adversaries, especially because the United States of America, led by President Trump, Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State, and Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War, as recently branded, have continued to insist with the mainstream media and with the social media led by Hex, that they have been able to take out, so to say, all or almost all of all Iran's missile launchers, of all Iran's missiles, of all Iran's drones, essentially of all Iran's weapon systems, and then so to say, military gear. You understand? First and foremost, you need to understand that Iran is prosecuting this war from under the mountains. All or almost all the people who are actually firing those missiles, who are actually, weaponizing those drones, who are actually coordinating the command and control structure of Iran is actually doing this war from under meters upon meters, as deep as 100 meters of rock. Even beyond the rock, Iran has gone on to invent what they call ultra high density cement. Cement that mimics the geological characteristics of those rocks, so that they are able to make those rocks even deeper. They are even be able to protect themselves even more than those natural rocks are given to them. You must understand that it seems that God prepared that country to be a war zone, to be essentially a military fortress, in the sense that close to two-thirds of Iran is essentially rocky and mountains. That is also one of the reasons why Donald Trump seems to be stepping back from the idea of invading Iran by land. Because unlike Gaza, for example, that is essentially a coastal city, sands everywhere flat, little to no rock, little to no natural defense, no way, no natural caves, no even no man-made hardened structures to hide beyond, as in to hide under. Iran is the complete opposite. One of the main mountain ranges of Iran is called the Zagros Mountains. So you see, when Iran fires missiles, when Iran fires drones, when Iran protects its command and control structure, when they protect the supreme leader, all the presidents and all those that matter to this war, they put them under those rocky bunkers. It is that rocky bunker that the retired supreme leader Ali Khamenei refused to go under. Retired Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei said, "You can only convince me to go under the rock if you can put all 93 million Iranians under the rock." And because they could not do that, he essentially ended up sacrificing himself, for the survival of the rest of his country. So that is one. So essentially, when America and Israel, when they fire their bombs, when they want to take out missile launchers, when they fire all sorts of weapon systems at Iran, they are largely firing at rocks. So what they can do is to actually take out civilians who are, on the surface, and take out civilian infrastructure. The first of which was that school that they attacked upper Saturday, that school where they killed over 160 girls and parents. It is such soft targets that they can end up, doing serious damage to. Unfortunately, it makes them even bad on the international scene. Do you understand? That is one. So essentially, Iran is able to protect most of its war fighting capacity, and because of that, they are able to push this war for much longer than the Americans and the Israelis are, are comfortable with. In fact, Iranian leaders are threatening. I have had some Iranian leaders threatening that they can continue this war for 6 months. In fact, there is a particular notorious general within the Iranians who came on TV and said that they can sustain this war for 10 years. It sounds incredulous, 10 years, but don't forget that that the war between Iran and Iraq between 1988 lasted for 8 years. And it is the young people that fought the Iran and Iraq war for 19, as in, when they were young for 8 years, that are now the leaders that are prosecuting this war this time around. So it will be foolhardy of them to actually not have prepared for a possibility that they are going to fight for long, like they fought for long during the Iran Iraq war. However, on the side of the Americans and the Israelis, they don't have time. They don't have the luxury of time, because what matters to the Iranians is completely different from what matters to the Israelis. As into the Israelis and the Americans. The Americans, for example, there is the big problem of the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. And like I said in the previous video, the longer there is pain at the pumps, the more American soldier casualties, the more serious political problems President Trump is in. So for him, his interest is to wrap this up as quickly as possible. But it seems that the Iranians are simply not letting the Americans and Israelis off the hook. In the case of Israel too, don't forget that Israel is at least currently a tiny country in terms of their geography and a tiny country in terms of their population. So Iran is able to do by far more infrastructural damage, you know, by by ratio to Israel, which is a relatively small country, population circa 10, 11 million, than Israel and America can do to Iran, which has a population of 93 million, and which has a landmass of almost 1.8 million square kilometer, most of which is rock. So those are important factors. On the other hand, America and Israel want a fast war. The Israelis also, they seem to be a bit less worrisome in terms of the psyche. Apparently, they feel by far more comfortable doing damage to other people and other countries. But when that damage is done to them, they seem not to be able to take it very well. So, for example, a lot of exodus is starting to happen from the Israeli population. More and more Israelis are trying to leave Israel to the safe havens of America and Europe, where they came from originally, while almost no exodus is happening away from Tehran, not to talk of away from Iran. In fact, we have read stories of Iranians who are abroad, especially in Germany and Turkey, who are trying to come back, into Iran, even while the war is going on. Do you understand? You also must understand that the Iranians are a population who seem not just to be fazed by war, do you understand, but who are highly supportive of the leadership when war is waged against them from the external ecosystem. We call it the rally round the flag effect. Once again, the rally round the flag effect. That is what we're going to be talking about in the next episode by God's grace. The rally round the flag effect. Again, meet us in the next episode. We'll discuss that topic there. Please do share, do follow, do comment, and please ask your questions. We'll gladly answer them. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.